This is Top Shop Podcast.
Top Shop Podcast.
A show way beyond the story. Get ready to accelerate your knowledge and stay ahead of the competition. Podcast for automotive service business owners by Paul Donahue.
So, hey, welcome everybody. On this Top Shop Podcast, we've got a special guest, Dennis Kirkpatrick, good Irishman name like Donahue. And he's the owner of European Collision out in San Francisco. Started his business from scratch. He's killing it. He's got 2 locations, been in business over 15 years. And I mentioned this on a lot of my podcasts. 80% of shops go out of business in the first 5 and another 80% the second 5. So that's why I want to interview successful people like Dennis and get their insights to help other shop owners across the nation that might be listening to this or we syndicated to. His sales are kicking butt. Very few shops ever make it to double 8 to 9 digits in sales, and they're already there. Okay, so Dennis knows a thing or two about starting and growing a successful local auto repair shop business. So without further ado, let me introduce Dennis. So Dennis, I always, how did you get started? This is the part I was like, how did you get started down this road? And did you, or when you were 8 years old, were you like, I'm going to own an auto body shop? So
when I was 8 years old, I was probably running around a body shop.
Okay.
Family business, my grandpa and his uncles had shops. My dad and my uncles worked in them. I'm surrounded by mechanics and body men. Dad's a mechanic, taught me a lot of mechanical. Grandpa was the collision guy, and I followed down that path.
Wow. Okay. So, so you took over the family business then at a certain point, or?
No. My grandpa and his brothers, my great uncles, had businesses on and off over the years. And then when I was in high school, my grandfather started a body shop called B&D Auto Body, Bob and Dennis. And I worked, after school, and then after high school, went to work with him. And a few years later, he had kind of suggested, maybe you should try to, work outside of the business and learn some stuff. We're stagnant here. We're a little business. He was old school.
Right.
We weren't doing great. We didn't have a lot of clients. It was a pretty small shop. And I went out and got a job as a tech and was out there for a few years, and he passed. And then the business just shut down, and that was it. Then I just continued my career in the industry.
Okay, so you started European Collision in what year?
We started. I've got partners.
Right.
We started in 2008.
2008. Now, I think you wisely invested in European. So I drive three kinds of cars: Porsche, and Porsche. That's it. I don't drive anything but Porsches. I love Porsches. I don't care what people say about them. That's my favorite car. I love them. So I live in Utah, a lot of snow. So I got a Macan and I got a Cayenne, both turbos, tuned, of course. And those massive tires with a pair of Hakkapeliitta tires on them. I mean, you just rip through ice and snow like almost like you're on pavement. So I love the kind of cars that you work on and repair. And was that a conscious decision on you guys? Hey, we want to focus on European because they're higher end cars. It's going to be bigger jobs, bigger tickets. Did you know that from the beginning?
Mercedes. My business partner and I worked for BMW. Passionate about that brand for many years. And while working for that company, we went out and tried to get more work for the facility. It was a very large facility. And we approached a Mercedes dealer, and we earned their business, and started doing a little bit of the work. But over time, we were doing a lot more of their work, and they approached us and said, hey, we really don't love sending all this business to a competitor. And so when we went to open the business, it was opened as a Mercedes certified facility.
Okay.
The name is actually, kind of harkens back to the dealership's original name, which was European Motors.
Okay. European Motors. I see. Okay. Yeah. I noticed on your website, you tend to specialize in BMW.
We do now. That's actually the newest brand that we got OEM certified with.
Okay, is BMW. Okay, yeah. That's why I started out with I can't remember what year it was, 4.8 IS, the BMW, the SUV. So great car. I remember it. Fire engine red with factory chrome rims on it.
Holy smokes.
A black interior. It was a cool car. Yeah, so I loved it.
You got noticed in that one.
Yeah, I got great pictures of it. Yeah, it's man, did that thing eat up tires. I mean, every 10,000 miles, I had to put a new set of rear tires on the back,
Yeah,
So,
those tires aren't for longevity.
no, not at all. So, what motivated you to start your own business? I mean, you kind of mentioned it already. I think your dad said, hey, you need to own your own business, or people around you said you need to own your own business.
Yeah, it was really, I had a great job. I loved who I worked for. They taught me a lot. I loved who I worked with. I had a crew of people that I'm still friends with to this day. I wasn't looking to start our own business. It was the dealer had, encouraged us to say, hey, we're going to have to do something else. And we'd like to do it with you. We like what you and your partners have done, how you service our clients, how the repairs. Would you willing? I thought they were trying to hire us, and I'm like, hey, I got a great job. I'm not leaving.
Right.
No, we want you. We think you should open your own shop and service us. Now they used to have a body shop, and they had rougher experiences with it. They didn't want to be back in the body shop business, but they wanted to partner with someone they trusted. So we put together the paperwork. We approached our friend who had his own business at the time, who was one of our first biggest investors, a guy named Mark Mirabelli. And he encouraged us to do it. He said, hey, no, you have to have your own business. You can't work for people. I like working for someone, but we went through the process, and a year later we were signing papers. I didn't even think it was real,
Wow.
It happened.
Well, now 15 years later, you're doing over 10 million a year in sales. So that's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing the amount of people that I find that I interview and talk with, and clients of mine that I ask them, and they kind of got steered into what they're doing. You know what I mean? So it's not like they said, hey, this is what I want to be when I grow up. They just kind of, one thing led to another, and they were doing good work in something. They get led into it. So what challenges, is there a particular challenge you can remember, like early on, that you faced and you got over it? Because usually when you start business, man, it's you don't have any systems or processes in place. You got a little bit, so there's a massive learning curve, that goes on. So
I mean, like any business that you start, you have those ups and downs. I'm very fortunate that my business partner is Ludwig Rutkowski. Some people say that, you don't go into business with your friends. We had a 14-year run together managing before we got into business. So it was nice to have somebody else, as opposed to being a complete sole proprietor where everything rests on your shoulders.
Right.
But the biggest challenges, I think, and I think most small businesses, are finance. You underestimate what it's going to take. And you start on a shoestring. You may not think it's a shoestring. You see this big bank account, you see the bunch of money the bank loaned you, or you took out of your home or 401k, and all of a sudden you realize it's not enough. It's hard to judge that run rate. Construction costs and building the business and equipment, I think we were really close on, but it took us longer. We had to dig deeper into, borrowing money. The first 3 years, I don't know if we could dig ourselves out of this hole. And then all of a sudden you crest that, and the business becomes self-sustaining, and like, all right, we did it. But if someone's got unlimited funds, I think you could be horrible at business, and you can afford to make a lot of mistakes over a long period of time, and you could eventually build a successful business. When you start so tight, you're limited to those mistakes.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So has mentorship played any kind of a role? Because there's a lot of people that, they have a mentor that helped them in their business. So you had a business partner with that, and you had 14 years of experience with that person before you got into this one. So that's kind of unique in and of itself. Would you say that person was a mentor with you, or?
We had mentors. He had an area of expertise. He comes from the refinish side. He's got some strengths that I don't have. I don't know, you can see through people a lot better than I can.
Okay.
I had from my dad and my grandpa, but on the business side, my old boss, Michael Greening, I was like going to get an MBA on the finance side, the stuff that I didn't know as a car guy. I didn't know P&L balance sheets, that stuff he taught me, and he didn't have to. I worked for a car dealer, but I don't know that he took me under his wing, or he was way with everybody, but he definitely taught me a lot about that. My manager at the time, a guy named Kevin Miller, he's still, to me, one of the best body shop managers I've ever met. He taught me a lot. I still lean on him to this day. You know, I'm still calling him. Other shop owners, you know, a buddy of mine, JR, I reach out to him constantly. I think we're lucky in this industry that people are willing to help and share ideas if you're willing to go get it. And I think the important thing is don't wait till you need the help. You should always be trying to get information from people. You should always be trying to get experience and learning. Sometimes when you're in a panic, and I've seen this with people, I need help. You know, okay, well, let's band together and try to figure something out. But it's a little too late. You know, you should constantly be looking for those mentors in the business. And you know, there's consultants in this industry. The Mike Anderson guy, that guy's amazing. Dave Dunn. Those guys have taught me so much. Yeah, I'm lucky to have a lot of mentors in this industry.
Let's talk about employees. I mean, you are running 2 shops. How many employees do you have all together now?
We hover right around 50.
50. That's a pretty big payroll. So one of the big complaints I hear from, I don't care whether it's a painting contractor company or auto repair, it doesn't matter. It's finding really good qualified techs, finding really good help. Do you have any kind of an insight to give to other shop owners that aren't nearly as successful as you are in this industry? Do you have any kind of tips or ideas that you can give to them that might help them find good techs for their shops?
I think it's marketing, but most people think of marketing, you're looking for clients.
Right.
Marketing, Dave Dunn taught me some things about marketing that I, years ago, that I hold true to this day. And one of it is you're constantly marketing. You're marketing to everybody. The difference between marketing and advertising is marketing encompasses your entire business. Your employees market for you. Now, have we had trouble? Oh, sure. Over the years, we've run into jams with, hey, we can't find techs. We're throwing ads out there like everyone else in a panic. But I think the biggest thing is we support the guys that are there, and they all know other people, and you don't just do that with pay. I mean, of course, pay matters. We're all here for money. I don't minimize that. I used to have a boss that minimized that. Well, pay doesn't matter. They want to be respected. They want to be respected, but they got to pay their bills.
They want to be paid. Yeah. Yep.
So, that's a big aspect, but providing a good place for them to work, a clean place, offering them training, having a relationship with them. When I'm interviewing people, I have this thing that I say, which we don't always hire the best. We hire the best person for us. We'll take a mediocre technician and make him an incredible part of the team. I've hired a few superstars over the years, and it didn't matter what they could fix. It screwed up the team. They didn't get better. They didn't make the people around them better. They made the shop worse.
Right.
And so when you have that kind of culture, your marketing and your technicians help you find people when you need them. We've had some success with bringing people up. Matter of fact, I haven't had a problem with technicians in the past few years, and this past year has been one of the hardest. And we've grown, so we've needed it, and we couldn't find people. So we're going back to something that we did years ago, which was we're moving some people up as apprentices. I mean, some of my top techs were detailers for me 10, 15 years ago, but we hadn't done that in a while because the investment is long.
Yep.
We've got a couple of young guys interested in the industry, and we think they're going to be pretty incredible.
Yeah, the from the ground up is always the best, but it always takes the longest too. So, how do you build and maintain a strong company culture for your team? I guess you already answered it. You treat people right.
You treat people right. You lead by example. Obviously, there's things that I think people take for granted. Your lunchroom, your bathroom, your floors. I mean, it seems silly to think that, hey, you worry about my lunchroom. The guys just want a bench where they can eat their bag lunch, but it starts the culture there. If they walk into a nice lunchroom, if their bathrooms are really nice, if your floors are constantly clean, it's going to go back to their stalls. It's going to go back to their desks for the estimators. And that starts relating to the work they do on the cars. That starts relating to how they interact with their clients. It's a big picture. It's the marketing thing. It's again what I learned from David. You have to look at the whole picture. It can't just be, hey, here's a bunch of money, here's some tools, fix those cars, and then they got to move old magazines off their lunch table in order to have their sandwich.
Yeah, my brother-in-law manages a pretty large chain auto dealership, one of the bigger ones in the United States. and he's in the top 3 consistently in the United States. And he manages over 170 people about. And I asked him one time, I said, "What's your philosophy?" And he says, I have really good systems in place. I put good people in those systems, and I treat them like family." And I'm like, oh, all the books that I read, I got on my wall here on management. That was some of the best management advice I ever got, you know. So it sounds like that's a philosophy that you adhere to. So any important lessons you've learned about finances? And because that's, like you said, it's a lot of it is finances that you could pass on to other shop owners.
I'm constantly learning. So it's the weakest part of my management. I mean, you know, we're car guys. I didn't think I'd ever stare at a computer screen or read P&Ls and balance sheets for a living. On the finance front, you know, I had a boss that taught me a lot about it. You know, Michael Anderson, you know, he pounds through that you got to stare at that P&L constantly. So I think that's one of the most important things, is constantly looking at every penny you're spending, and not going cheap, but to ask yourself, do I need that anymore? And before you make an investment, I've been getting along without this thing. Is this expenditure going to have an ROI for me? You know, I equate it to apps. We're big in the body shop industry. There's tons of things out there, but say you buy an app on your cell phone, the thing's $8 a month, the thing's $9 a month. Before too long, you're spending $200-300 a month on apps, and you're not using half of them. And right. We do that in this industry. We buy this software program, or we get this new service. Sometimes they overlap. Sometimes we're not even managing them properly. You really have to analyze every penny you spend, and how it's going to come back to you. What's the return on it?
Yeah, preaching to the choir. Talk about software costs. My wife and I are always going over, do we need this software program? Man, we spend a lot of money on software programs to help our clients out. So what trends or developments do you see happening in the industry? There's a lot of trends happening all the time in all of the automotive industry: auto repair, auto paint protection. You know, what kind of trends do you see that are coming up, and trends or developments you see shaping the future, and how are you preparing for them, I guess is the question.
Well, I mean, obviously, everyone probably say the same things, I think, and it's ADAS and EVs, right? EVs are going to be huge. They're not going away. Not that you'd want them to. I'm not necessarily an EV guy, but I could see myself driving one at some point. The training on those things, I think our industry is at a tough spot. If you talk to a lot of people in our industry right now, you're going to get, man, if they've been in it for a while and burnt out, this is a struggle, you know, the parts supply, insurance delays, that kind of thing. But I also think it's exciting because this technology is going in the direction where I've wanted it to go for a long time, where, you know, the techs aren't body men anymore. You know, the estimators are blueprinters now. It's a technical industry, and it offers a lot of opportunity for technicians to grow, make more money, to be more fulfilling. I mean, I think that if I didn't get into the management side of it, I'd still be slinging Bondo and slapping panels. Not very good. I wasn't a great tech, but I would be more excited to get into this industry, that side of it now, because of the technology, because of the things you can learn. It's not as backbreaking as it is thought, you know, driven. And I think that's exciting. Autonomous cars, we're in San Francisco, where the building's at that I'm sitting at right now. I'm surrounded by 2 of the biggest autonomous car companies. They don't crash. You know, people
Right.
don't trust them all they want. And I said, well, I got a shop full of driver cars, but I don't have any driverless cars in here. That's going to affect our industry. Now, you know, I'm old enough to where it probably won't affect me. And if you're in your 30s and 40s, you're probably going to be able to build a nice career in here. I question how that affects people later on. So the technicians, the young guys that we're bringing up, we're trying to invest as much time and training as possible on the EV front and the ADAS front, because there's always going to be a need for them to work on those systems.
Great answer too, by the way. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, because that was one of the things that is driverless cars, you know. So eventually they say, oh, we want to do driverless trucks. Well, you know, the truck drivers are still laughing at that one. Let me see you take a truck over Vail Pass during January.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of the technology. I mean, I got personal beliefs on all that stuff. You know, I don't know why we're eliminating the need for human beings, but I know it's coming. I'm not in the house. I've heard some people go, that'll never happen. I see it every day. You walk outside my facility and there'll be a parade of cars driving down the street with nobody in them. And it's just getting better and better. It's unfortunate because, again, I don't know what we're trying to replace with that, but it is going to happen.
Of all the buggy makers back in the day, Oldsmobile was the only one that said, "Hey, I think these cars are going to do something," and they invested in technology. All the rest of them are gone. Oldsmobile
Yeah.
made it. So, how do you approach competition in your industry?
That's up and down, right?
Right.
The past, I'd say, good 6, 7 years, you didn't have to worry about the competition. I mean, especially, where we're located, we're in San Francisco. It's relatively small, big city. We know most of the other shops, and we're all friendly. We've all said, there's plenty of work to go around for all of us. During lean times, that gets a little tough. I know there's a lot of talk in the industry about the consolidators, and how they can come into an area and really hurt small businesses. Our facility is fortunate enough to be in a position that we don't have to worry about that kind of thing. We have quite a few OEM certifications. We work directly with our dealer partners.
Right.
And I really mean that as a partner. We're a wing of these dealers. They have 50 employees working down the street for them, whether it's for sales or the parts department or the service department. So, our competitions, we have some large body shop groups here in San Francisco. And again, we're friendly with them. We share work, we share clients. They've made mistakes. I fix cars for them. I've made mistakes. They fix car for us.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's different geographically wherever you go, right? Los Angeles is a very, very competitive market. In the San Francisco Bay Area, the East Bay area, which is more of a suburban area, is a very, very competitive market. Where we're at it's competitive. There's good quality shops, which is great, but none of us have been lacking for work in the past few years.
Okay, well, that's good. So, has digital played any impact on the growth of your business?
As far as marketing?
Yeah, website design, paid ads, Google paid ads, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
It's
You guys mostly work directly with the auto dealers.
The majority of our digital marketing is in SEO. We do very little social media, and it's probably not wise of me. If I can give any, more advice that I had learned from Dave Dunn, was you don't want to market when you're slow. You want to market year round. You never want to drop your advertising budget. Maybe you lower it a little bit when you're slammed and you can't take cars, but you never cut everything. You always want to be marketing. I'm not great on social media because I understand it. I'm a technical guy. I'm not a fan of it. So it hasn't related to our business. We do have, Instagram and Facebook. I can't remember the last time we've done anything on it. We're big on SEO because my belief is no one really looks at your website as much as they just want to Google how to get their car fixed. They want to find Plymouth to pick a BMW. Facebook is shoving it in your face, and all the social media shoves it down your face. And that's why I think it's so effective when you need it. We don't use that much. The rest of it is our relationships with our dealers, our insurance companies. Sure. We're not big on DRPs, but we're not anti-insurance either. I mean, we do have our little battles with them, but I think we've got a pretty good reputation with insurance companies. And even if we're not on their program, they reach out to us for technical advice and stuff like that.
Yeah, something I preach to all of my clients, and then I'm creating videos and putting them on YouTube and all that to try to help business owners make better choices when they choose an SEO company, is you need to invest in SEO 1 to 2 years before you need it. That's
absolutely. Yeah, you can't turn it on like a switch. That's why you don't like, oh my God, there's people I'm sure call you in a panic. I haven't had work in months. It's too late.
I think I want to start that SEO program now, and you need the results now. You needed to start it when we talked last year. So
yeah, absolutely.
So that's good advice to give for any shop owner. SEO
it's not bad to say I'm too busy for you right now. That presents headaches. I understand it presents headaches to schedule out, but you're still advertising. You're still getting people, because a year from now you might not be busy, and if that person still hears your voice, they might actually, come back to you at that point. Hey, can you get me in now? Can you get me in now?
Right. Okay. So, hey, what advice would you give to any aspiring entrepreneur who's like just getting started in their auto repair shop? They're in their first, second, third year. They want to grow. I own a digital marketing company, so I already know what I'm going to say. You need to invest in digital. because there's only two ways that people get business: referral. And if I don't have a referral to somebody's shop, I go to Google and I type in auto body repair in the city and I click on the first thing that comes up. So that's pretty much it. But what advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur that's just, maybe they were working for a shop, they want to start their own?
If they haven't started their shop yet and they're in the planning dream stage, like I like to call it, I think I've said this and some people are like, man, that's kind of morbid, but think of all the worst case scenarios. When we're thinking about starting our business, we're thinking the clients are going to love us. We're going to do a great service for this client, whether we're selling this widget or fixing a car or whatever. It's going to be great. We're selling these smoothies. Think of all the worst things that can happen. Think about when people don't come through the door.
Right.
Think about the very worst things that happen. How will you unwind that business if you're halfway through a couple of years and you got half the cars out there and you're running out of funds and you're closing? How are the banks going to take those booths back? I know it sounds terrible, but I think it alleviates a ton of anxiety, because then you ask yourself, can I get through that? Is that a risk I'm willing to take? Is that something that I'm willing to put everything out there for? And then the business fails, but I can still rebuild my life. I can still get a job and I'll owe that money for a long time. You take that worry away. I didn't have that worry the first few years. I selfishly, my kids were a little older, so I didn't feel like I was really letting anyone down except for myself. My partner had some young kids, if it did fail. So the failure thing wasn't the part that kept me awake at night. It did, but it eliminates a lot of those concerns, and you plan for it. You're like, okay, what does happen in a year if there aren't any cars in here? Well, I'm going to make sure there's cars in here today. I'm not just going to open up and hang my sign and hope they show up. I'm going to work towards that year point down the road when it might be thin. We all got great ideas when we're starting a business, but we don't think about all the bad stuff. And people have started businesses that have failed that I've talked to, I feel that they never really thought about those things ahead of time, so they weren't preparing.
Right, they didn't have a contingency plan.
They weren't trying to avoid them because they didn't want to think about losing their business after they've invested so much.
Right.
You have to, so that you can avoid it and plan for it.
Right. Worst case scenario, and if this happened, what would happen? Yeah. What if the economy takes an absolute dump? What's the contingency plan? Most people don't have it. My wife and I do. So one of our contingency plans was to specialize in automotive, which is a more historically, it's a more recession resistant industry.
We started in 2008.
Oh, wow. Yes. Right.
We opened in November of 2008.
2008. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, don't think I didn't have some sleepless nights. I mean, we were planning for a good 12, 16 months before. And of course we were watching the news and we were all aware of what was going on, but we were so deep into planning a business. I do remember signing the lease contracts and everything and the operating agreement with the investors and the partners, and then waking up the next day going, oh my God, the world's collapsing. And we just borrowed and threw a bunch of money into this thing. And
right.
But we got through it somehow.
Yeah, that's it. Can you recommend any books, resources, tools, training programs, blah, 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 anyone, any shop owner?
I read a few business books that really, really helped me. One is Driven by BMW.
Okay.
Or not by BMW, but about the BMW story.
Right.
Talks about having a goal, a vision, and having your entire company work towards it. So, BMW, you could walk into their corporate office and talk to a janitor, and the decisions that janitor should make are based on the ultimate driving machine. There's another one by Bob Lutz, 7 Rules. I think it's 7 Rules of Business by Bob Lutz, the old car executive. That one was pretty phenomenal. I love Carl Sewell's books, from Sewell Cadillac, Customers for Life.
Yep, Sewell Cadillac.
Yeah, they're great. Training, any industry training, and trade magazines are great. Don't underestimate reading as many trade magazines as possible. Automotive News is not an auto body based one, but it definitely helps you focus on where the industry is going. And
I get their email every day, Automotive News. Yeah. I just signed up for their, which is great because I scan over because it tells me kind of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
ASA, I belong to ASA, and their newsletter too, because this stuff comes through all the time. They kind of tell me what's going on. But automotive news is like they got their real thumb on the pulse of the.
Yeah. Every now and then they do an article about the collision repair industry, and I get all excited. We're the stepchilds of the automotive industry, but again, it talks to you where the industry is going, which is always going to trickle down to us. So.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen, I really appreciate your time today. I'm a digital marketing guy interviewing a successful body shop guy. Are there any questions that I should have asked that you would have asked yourself? I always like asking that one. Are there any questions you'd ask yourself that I didn't think of? I just kind of wrote down my notes here, or did I kind of cover it?
You did a pretty good job. I mean,
good. Thanks.
I don't know that I have. Surprised you wanted to talk to me anyway. I mean, I get a lot of my answers from other people, so I think no, I think you covered it. You're good.
Yeah, no, mentorship's important. My wife and I belong to an organization that has around 300 agency owners in it, and we're all frenemies, so to speak, because we all specialize in different niches. And there's several people that specialize in my niche, and we go to the same conferences down in Miami 3 times a year. But man, we learn so much from each other. Tips, trick, things that Google had 500 algorithms alone last year. So, it's, you really got to stay on top of SEO a lot. So, and I'm glad that you were able to, give us a really good reference for the value of SEO in the business, because it really is. You're either going to get referrals or people are going to get Google search. And if you're not on Google search, then forget it. You're only getting this one half of the business, the referrals. So there's a whole nother massive amount of revenue that will come in from digital that these other shops don't know about because they're not investing in it, and they won't take that leap to do it. So anyway, I will, Dennis, I'll send you, my team will get together and they'll polish this up. It's got a nice little snazzy beginning and all that stuff, and Top Shop podcast, and we'll send you a link to the finished video. And you can download it. You can do whatever you want with it. We're going to take it. We're going to put it on everything, TikTok, YouTube, shorts. We're going to create little shortcuts out of it. We're going to put it on social media and all that stuff. So anyway, we'll try to make you famous.
Yeah, not exactly where I want to go, but that's okay.
My wife and I were out in San Francisco. She's Filipino. And we something with the passport, and we got so sick and tired of trying to deal with these people. Let's get on a plane, go there. And so we went there, and we went to Alcatraz. I wanted to go to see Alcatraz, and we couldn't see the bridge, so it was because it was foggy. So anyway, my wife wants to. I want to go back to San Francisco because I want to see the bridge, and that's a symbol of the United States of America to a greater part of the world. So.
Yeah. Did you happen to notice an old classic truck out on Alcatraz?
Yes. When you walk through there's
tunnel?
A thing that tunnel.
Yeah. We restored that.
No kidding.
There's a plaque on the frame, a metal plaque that we had made, and it actually says our name, the technicians who worked on it, when it was worked on. It was a long project. It was obviously a passion project because. We love San Francisco. We're San Franciscans, and Alcatraz is a big part of that. That truck was out there for many, many years, and basically somebody restored it many years ago, but they just bonded the hell out of it. And we completely dipped it, stripped it, and restored it. And it sits out there. It was kind of sad the day it actually drove out. We got it running. It wasn't running before, so they actually do drive it around the island.
I remember the truck. I was trying to remember where, and it's that tunnel when you walk through the tunnel.
Yeah.
I remember taking pictures of that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. All right. Thanks a lot. So hey, we'll send you an email as soon as we got the whole thing polished and finished up, and I'll send you the link. Thank you very much for your time and your insight. We really appreciate it.
Of course, Paul. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
For additional automotive resources and exclusive content, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all our episodes. Thanks again for joining us in the driver's seat, and we'll see you next time for another thrilling episode of Top Shop.